Well, I'm gonna talk about chronamics. Chronamics in Japan. Chronamics is the way that time is used in each culture, and it is divided in two types. The first is monochronic, that is when the things are done depending on the priority. One example of this is Japan, um, French culture, England culture, and this is because they are more like independent societies in many activities they practice. So the second is polychronic. It is when the involvement of people in activities obviously is more important than time. Well, I'm gonna talk about business in Japan. Japanese business are very formal and disciplined in many areas like models, relationships, meetings, and time, obviously. And this is because businessmen are governed by agenda. They hate improvisations, so they are two organized people. The second topic I'm gonna talk about is artifacts, and it is clothing, but I'm gonna talk about clothing in business. Dress code for Japanese must be dark suit, white t-shirt, dark tie, and foreigners can use any kind of clothing, but they have to take care of habits. There is an important habit. Everybody has to take off their shoes at restaurants, houses, and maybe in companies. But they have to take care about the socks. People need to have socks in good condition and they need to be conservative in style.
Comes to the Japanese in regards of language, they have two very specific characteristics that describe them. The first one has to do with the speed of the speech. The Japanese talk very fast, even compared with a lot of cultures here in Earth. So the best example to describe this speediness is to say that they talk in clusters. Even so, the women have a better flow than the men. The second characteristic happens to be the fillers. The fillers is the use of words that help to improve the vocabulary in the communication between the speaker and the listener. This happens because they think that this is an indication of attentiveness. So this helps to improve the communication between the persons that are in this. An example of the difference between Occidental culture and Japanese culture is in the gesture for okay, the gesture, because in Japan this means money. Other difference is found in the case of the children and their care, because in Japan the kids are more dependent of his mother. Otherwise, in America, the kids have to be more independent. This was shown in a study of 1980 where they demonstrate that Japanese mothers were more physical with their children when they started to cry. In difference, here in America, the mothers let their kids crying until they stopped and fell asleep.
Well, I'm going to talk about haptics. Haptic communication is a branch of non-verbal. It's like non-verbal communication that refers to the ways in which people and animals communicate and interact via the sense of touch. Well, the first key point from the haptics communication in Japan is the silence, because the Japanese people doesn't need all because the Japanese people don't need the words always. They can communicate all their ideas just with the gaze. This means like in a different situations you are not able to talk, or you cannot uh, talk a lot, so they they use this like tool, this tool that is the silence, and they just communicate his ideas, their ideas, with the geese. Another point of the haptic communication in the Japanese culture is the visual contact. When you look a person directly to the eyes, it's a signal that you trust in that person, um, and this is a really important point of a non-verbal communication in this culture. Um, Another aspect from the Japanese is that they are so different from the other cultures in that region, and at this point that is visual contact, it's very important, and it's a key point from his culture that identified them. Also, like an important point that is important to remark is when you don't look at the eyes from to other person, it's like a rude way to say to him that you are not interested at the conversation, or the situation. So this means like you are a bad, not bad person, but you have like rude morals, and it's not very good for the culture.